Monday in early July. It feels like mid-August, has for a while. I cringe to think about what August is going to bring us. But thank you for being here this evening. We got a special invitation today from Imam Osama Saad. He is the leader and director of Al Azhar Foundation, which is a new community foundation that just moved to Westfield. So he's going to say our prayer. But let's all stand first. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the prayer.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Peace be with all of you. In the name of God, the creator of the heavens and earth. In the name of God, the master of the day of judgment. In the name of God, who created us from a single male and female and made us into nations and communities to know each other. In the name of God, who is merciful to us than our own mother. In the name of God, the most gracious and the most merciful. God says in the Holy Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Call upon me and I will respond to you. Our God, we ask you to, in this place day, to guide our mayor and city officials to the best of our Westfield community. Grant all of us guidance and free us from ignorance and hatred. Grant us the ability to distinguish between the truth and false, and to adopt the truth and whatever leads to it from sayings and actions. Our Lord, help our city officials to promote peace, justice, and mercy to the whole community, and serve our community in the best manner, and to use the resource of our city wisely and well. Our Lord, guide our city officials and mayor to represent our community fairly and justly. Accept this effort and lead them to take the right and perfect decision. Our Lord, accept our prayers and supplications. You are all knowing and hearing. Amen. Thank you.
President Tam, would you like to run the meeting, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I believe Marla's online this evening. Can we note the presence of a quorum?
We sure can. Noah Herron. Chad Huff.
Here.
Victor McCarty.
Here.
Patrick Tam.
Here.
Kurt Waninger.
Here.
John Dart.
Here.
Joe Deppner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The next order of business this evening is approval of minutes from the June 23rd, 2025 meeting. Assuming everyone's had an opportunity to review those, we need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from June 23rd of 2025.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waninger, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll, please?
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Waninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Next order of business is approval of claims. Assuming everyone's had the opportunity to review the claim docket, we need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve the claims as presented for July 14th of 2025.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waninger, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Waninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. We do not have any changes to the agenda this evening. Residents that wish to address the council this evening?
We have one card
Great,
at the moment, Nancy Abbott.
great. Thank you. Nancy, if you're here, you can come forward and address the council. This item isn't on the agenda. I thought it was. You could still come up and address if it's not on our agenda this evening, you can talk about anything you want for 3 minutes, so.
My name's Nancy Abbott, and I live in Willow Creek. I've lived there since 2008. My fear is waiting till October to address the golf cart issue. I was almost hit head-on with a golf cart at 11 o'clock the other night over by Kroger, and if I hadn't had my wits about me, these people would have been killed. And I just would like the council to think about doing something and not waiting till October. I'm not against them. We just need to make regulations for them, and there is a place for them. Willow Creek is an example. We're growing, but so is Westfield. There's a small community in Colorado, of Erie, Colorado, that has only 35,000 people, and they addressed it quickly because they were astute and got donations from AARP and businesses around to make a place for golf carts. We don't want a disaster and deaths to make us move. We need to be the ones that make it move, not a death. I ask you to move quickly.
Thank you very much for being here this evening. Appreciate it. Any other individuals this evening that wish to address the council? Seeing none, we'll move to our special order of business this evening, a fire department presentation by our chief, Chief Gaylor.
Rob Gaylor, Westfield Fire Department. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, members of the council, for allowing me to be here this evening. I want to take this time and just recognize our partnership with the IAFF and the local 4416 and their group of members that actually helped us put this information together. About 6 or 8 months ago, we asked or requested to have a study on the Westfield Fire Department. So this is a little snippet of that data and information that we have received back from the study. And some of it's fascinating, some of it's horrifying, and some of it's just pretty awesome. So it sums it all up through a variety of things. And so the purpose of the study, it was conducted by the IAFF, which is the International Association of Firefighters, at the request of the Fire Department and Local 4416. And it assesses our response times, station coverage, and future growth. So as we sit down and put together a strategic plan or capital plan, and all of these things, taking into consideration the growth and the opportunities that we have before us, we need to put some teeth behind just some of the assumptions. And so this study actually helped with that. Some of the recommendations are going to help align the organization with NFPA standards and assist with our ISO ratings. And I'll get in and talk about NFPA standard and the actual ISO ratings, but a little bit about the department. So for folks that don't know, the Westfield Fire Department covers all of Washington Township, or Westfield, Washington Township. So we're the largest township in Hamilton County at 56.8 square miles. We have covered that for many, many years. We're a little different than the police department, where the police department works primarily in the incorporated areas only. Not saying that they're going to the unincorporated areas, but usually if it's out in the unincorporated areas of town, that jurisdiction is going to fall on Hamilton County. So a couple differences with the police versus the fire department. We cover the whole 56.8. Yes, currently we are operating out of 4 stations. What we did working with the police department, the city administration, is we had a unit come in and we put it in service at our old headquarters site. So Our Station 4 right now is the old fire station, which is the current police station. So we do have 4 stations that are working in our jurisdiction right now. But just know that Station 84 and Station 85 are going to come online in 2026. Currently, we're sitting at about 127 folks. We've got 11 new ones in the Recruit Academy right now. So by November, that number will be actual firefighters of hopefully near that 140. We're doing more than 5,000 calls annually, and so far this year, we're projecting around that 5,500 calls for service range. Population and growth trends. Currently, we're looking at about 67,000 residents in our community, and so by 2030, we could be at that 90,000 plus spot pretty quick. The highest population density is to the southeast of State Road 32, and the growth is expected in all quadrants of our district, with the fastest being between Station 84, Station 85, and then west of Station 83. A lot of these numbers are going to be very similar to what we had forecasted and predicted back in 2023, but this is actually going to give us real data points that we can actually put our finger on. It's tangible instead of just going on what ifs or whims. So with our incident and call volumes, again, we're trending up. Like I mentioned earlier, 5,000 plus calls annually. In 2019, we responded or had a unit respond over 7,000 times. Today, we're seeing in 2024 almost 11,000 apparatus responses. Obviously, that's an increase. Population density, more calls for service, all of those things come into play when it comes to the count for those runs. 2020 COVID, we saw a slight decrease versus the 2019 numbers, but since then it's been on a consistent upward trend. One of the biggest things that the NFPA 1710 is the national standard that identifies how fire departments should be made up, how many people we need to have on an event or an incident scene. It really works on a 4-minute travel time for first units. So there's a couple things we're going to talk about and why it's important for our stations to be located to cover really that population density to get where the high probability of calls are going to be within a matter of moments. 4 minutes is the standard that NFPA recommends for each fire department to be at. Volunteer organizations fall under a different standard. They're NFPA 1720. But being a career department, 1710 is the standard that we follow. So Engine 2 and Medic 2 have the longest travel times. WFD met the 4-minute standard only 16 to 18% of the time. This sounds pretty alarming, and quite frankly, it is. The nature of that is just the number of stations that we have and the personnel that we have on the roster. So as we start filling in and growing as a community, that's going to get worse because we're small, those incidents are larger or in different areas and just travel time to get there. So the only way to combat that is to add station and personnel. So we can't dictate where those runs are or how long it's going to take us to get there. But what we can do is forecast in the future, hey, the population density is here, more than likely we're going to have an increase in runs. Would make sense to have a station in this location. So through the study, we found some key gaps. South of Station 81, east of Station 2, and around Station 3. I've got some slides in here that actually show some recommendations on some locations or areas, and we'll get into a few of those as we go through. So current and recommended response coverage. Again, we talked about the 4-minute road coverage. With our current stations and staffing, we meet that 4-minute objective 34.2% of the time. By the time we get Station 84 and Station 85 up out of the ground and staffed and going, we're going to be at that 51% of a 4-minute response time. It's a huge, huge gain and jump on where we are today versus where we're going to be here shortly. And so I'm greatly appreciative. We are greatly appreciative of that. One of the things that we did is we've taken our historical data and plotted it on the map and just kind of taken a look at it. Hey, if history repeats itself, these are the areas of concentration that fall within that 4-minute response time. And when we look at all of our current stations and staffing, 37 and a half, again, we bring 84s and 85s online. We're going to be able to meet that just based on a historical data sense, 47.4%. So I'm not going to read this whole slide verbatim, but a couple things I will talk about is a low hazard. For this study, a low hazard event is a typical 2,000 square foot house. A medium hazard, that changes. Medium hazard, now we're talking about the apartment buildings that we're bringing in. More densely populated, more stacked living, hard to get into, or challenging to get into, I should say. Those change from a low hazard class to a medium hazard class. Takes more people to work on those and get those out. I am happy to say that with our medic units and our ALS providing a paramedic on scene within the first 8 minutes, right now today, 92.7% of the time, adding Station 84 and 85. It says no change. What that really means is there's not really a big enough change that it's going to make a major impact. When we add, take into consideration some of the things that the study suggests that we can do, we can increase that to 97.7%. Like all things, I don't believe that we'll ever make 100% in anything, but if we're in that 90th to 95th percentile most of the time, you're doing really good things. So just take that in consideration as we look at the rest of the slides. Again, just breaks it down. Here is some locations that they have identified. One of the things that I need to say is the study did not take into consideration current growth and development or anything that this council has already done or approved. We just have to go back, drew a line in the sand like 2024. Here it is moving forward. So as things start to develop in some other areas of the city, perhaps, those have not been taken into context when it comes to the data that we're looking at right now. So whole moral of that is things can change, right? So they've identified 3 locations. We call it location A, B, and C. Station A, West 156th Street and Clearbrook Street. Station B, 800 East 169. And Station C is at 161st and Cary Road in that area. I'm not using these as specific address points saying that we have to have a station here or this is the recommendation. What I would like is in these areas, with the data that we have, I'm going to be able to visually show you the impact that we could have if these sites were identified and we were allowed to build a station there. So numbers, if you're a numbers person, with all 3 stations, we increase our 4-minute travel time, the ability to cover that 4-minute response time up to 70.8%. So that is a huge, dramatic increase of adding those stations. As you go down, you can see that A is at 60.7, B is at 60.3, C is at 54.3, and I've got some visuals in here that will actually show what that looks like because I think that is the most impactful when it comes to looking at the information that they have here. So some of the short-term recommendations that come out of this study is staffing all of our apparatus with a minimum of 4 firefighters, the suggestion of moving Medic 83 to Station 84. All of these, once we get Station 4 open, that's really a pretty easy transition. The 4-person staffing is the model that we're employing with the hiring of these recruits that we have in class right now. After they graduate and get on the street and we fill the open vacancies that we have, we will truly be at that 4-person staffing level. So thank you to the City Council and the administration for recognizing that as a necessity and helping us get there. Some of the long-term recommendations are maintaining that 4-person staffing level. Assess your workload, growth, hazards, and the risks. Again, as different areas in the city start developing, maybe over some that we thought were going to develop at one time but no longer are not, that Station A site might have to be moved to a new location. So just having the ability to think and work through using the hazards and the risks to help identify that is, maintaining awareness of what's going on. Build and staff new stations at or near the recommendation site. To get the most benefit out of the information that I'm presenting, it's based on these locations. Not that there's not another location that would be suitable, but the information that we're going to share tonight is just based on these sites. So take those into consideration as we look. So here on the screen, you can see site A, B, and C. A, here's B, and here's C. Obviously, we're using the data that we have at hand. If there's development that's taking place on the northern side of 32, none of that was taken into consideration at the time of the study. So why are those locations so important and so impactful? When we look at our historical events and we build what's called a heat map, we can see the darker colored areas on the screen. We have the yellows with the red circles here and the reds and the yellows. Those are what we call hot zones. So those are the areas that we see and feel the most runs historically. And so as you look at those, having stations in certain locations will allow us to get to those areas much quicker to help achieve that 4-minute response time. Again, this is what 4-minute road coverage looks like at that 34.2% with the emergency incidents located within those jurisdictions. We're getting to about 37.5, 36, or 38%. So this is what it looks like. Station 1, here's Station 3 today, and Station 2. So these areas where the green streets are located, we can actually get to within that 4-minute response time. So as you look and we've already identified that population density is greater in this area. That's where it makes the most sense. It's where the most risk is, adding stations in these. And as we look at the next, you can see kind of what the impact is when we bring 4s and 5s on. We're covering more and more of that postage stamp of Washington Township, every station that we add. If we had the ability to do station site A, B, and C, or in these areas, this is the level of coverage that you could expect from the organization. So again, as you just take and you see that visual, there's a lot of the infill within the city that we can get to with those sites being chosen. Obviously, the areas on the western part of our jurisdiction, population density is much less. Road coverage is much less. I'm not going to say that the need isn't there, but based on the historical data and site locations, this is really our best fix with the information we were given. So again, the national standard and the risk impact, NFPA 1710 and 1500, says that engines and ladders should have a 4-person minimum staffing. Again, at the end of the recruit class graduating here in November, this will help us achieve that, and we will meet that standard at that time. Compliance reduces liability and improves outcomes. The survival rate for a cardiac arrest increases from 4.6% to almost 34.3% by having that 4-person ALS crew there. Some efficiencies on emergency scene operations. Again, I'm not going to read this verbatim to everybody in the room, but water on the fire, from the initial call to on scene and firefighters doing what firefighters do, getting water on the fire. This is the efficiency with the crews. So a 2-person firefighter crew takes 10 minutes to do that. A 3-person crew, it takes 9 minutes to do that. And with a 4-person firefighter crew, we're sub 9 minutes at 8 minutes and 41 seconds. So just certain job tasks on those scenes we can identify and see the efficiencies as we get more. Believe it or not, there is a point of diminishing returns. Having 5 and 6 firefighters on an apparatus can actually send things the other way. So 4, that's the number identified in the standard, what we've identified being the most efficient, and that's the goal that we're set to achieve at the Westfield Fire Department. Again, faster times equal greater survivability. Firefighters responding within 4 minutes of an alarm to initiate CPR or a defibrillation with the patient. The probability of patient survival quadruples from 4.6 to 18.2%. Those same firefighters are equipped and trained with the defibrillator. The expected survival rate's 5 times greater. And if those firefighters arrive and are ALS capable, survivability increases almost 7-fold. So having ALS equipment, paramedics on our fire trucks, and fire trucks properly located throughout the jurisdiction does save lives. Insurance Services Office, this is a grading schedule that all fire departments in the country are graded on. ISO rating of a number 1 is the greatest rating that you can have. We're number 2. The only way we can improve upon that is adding staffing and locations. Most of what is graded is out of our control. Water, dispatch center, things like that. The only things that we can control that affect our rating, staffing, the amount of training hours that we do, station locations, and the apparatus that we have. So in the city where it's hydrant, we're a 2. Outside of those jurisdictions, we're a 2X. So again, one of the best in the country, but the only way for us to achieve that is to add more stations and more staff. Believe it or not, your ISO rating does affect the insurance premiums that you folks pay on your homes. So the better rating your fire department has, the lesser insurance premiums you're expected to pay for your insurance companies. How do we compare to our peer cities here in Hamilton County? Carmel is sitting at 6 stations, and they're identifying area right now to build Station 7. They did 9,500 calls. Fisher's 7 stations currently, 7,800 calls. Noblesville Fire, just over 8,000 runs, 7 stations. Westfield, again, 3 stations. There's a little asterisk there because we are running out of the old headquarters site of Station 4. We've got 2 more stations coming online. Again, right at 5,000 runs a year. And this is population, staff, and square miles coverage. So again, we have the potential, and the mayor and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago, we have the potential to be one of the largest municipalities in the county without annexing another township or doing anything like that. So we are today the same size that Noblesville was 6 years ago. So when we start putting things like that in perspective, it kind of changes that dynamic altogether. In the next 4 years, 5 years, by 2030, we're going to be right there where we're going to be above Noblesville. We're going to be right there at Carmel and Fishers, or right on their heels. So if we don't prepare, take the information, at least consider it, we're going to be further behind the 8 ball than we are today. Growth and risk projections, again, I'm not telling you folks anything that you don't already know. Residential permits expected to add another 13,800 units by 2030. And might I add that this information is pre-24. So we've not touched this considering anything that your council has already approved. 90,000 projected population. One of the biggest things, and I'm going to talk about it here later on tonight, but 34.3% overlapping calls. So what that means is that when one of our units is dispatched out on a call, there's a 34.3% chance that another call in our district is going to come out. So a third of the time we have multiple units on separate calls taking place somewhere in our jurisdiction. Department our size, that is huge when we're only sitting at 3 and 4 stations. We have units out of district covering other districts, and we have a major event take place where those stations aren't. Adding more stations and more personnel to the roster does help. We're not going to change the 34%, but we are going to change the resource that we have available to care for the other runs that come in. So estimated 131,400 additional coverage hours needed. That's the number of firefighters divided by the days and the hours worked. I'm not going to get into too much of that, but additional staffing and additional stations are a way that we can actually combat and make this much better than it is today. So again, the data confirms the current coverage gaps. We must be prepared for the growth. And I think having the ability to have these conversations in open forum and just be truthful and honest with one another is how we start that. Recommended for council support. This is where we're asking for your support from the city council and city administration. Help us maintain that full staffing to meet that NFPA standard, timely construction and funding of future stations, and ongoing assessment of the growth, the call volume, and the service demands that the men and women of the Westfield Fire Department are under. Actually, go ahead and close out of this. I want to open the website. Where'd my page go? So again, at no cost to the people in the community, this is the IFF website that the local 4416 and the fire administration worked with folks to identify this information. So it's not just some fire chief up here making up numbers and looking at it. You can actually go to the website. You can see the key findings and the recommendations, give a little bit of background. I know some of the council members have had the opportunity to dive in and look at this. Again, I'm not going to go tab by tab as we go through this, but we will make the link available to folks outside. But I would be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
And thank you, Chief. Any questions this evening?
I've got it. Go ahead.
Okay. Chief, thank you for your presentation tonight. And there was a lot of great information. And thanks for the collaborative approach with the union and putting this information together. I'm not going to go into a lot of questions regarding your presentation tonight or what was also in the report, but could you touch briefly on some of the staff or departments you've added in regards to helping residents with mental health and the helping reduce calls associated with those, and then also the importance of the public safety training facility and the future development, continued development of that property?
Yeah, absolutely. So Westfield Fire Department is one of the leaders, not only in the state, but in the country, in how we take care of patients and take care of our community. And we don't like to tell that story, or not like, we don't do a very good job of telling that story very often. But we have one of the best mobile integrated health systems out there. We have a social worker that is embedded in the fire department that assists with, it's not such a graceful term, but frequent flyers. So what that would be is we would have someone in the community that would call 911 repeatedly, time and time again, requesting for assistance or needing help for a problem that they have at home. Through our social worker and our MIH program, we've got a community paramedic as well as some other folks in the EMS division. But the team comes in and the engine company is there and they see that Mrs. Smith is having some problems with maybe some mixed meds or maybe some slip, trip, and fall hazards identified in the house. They can do what's called an engine referral that goes right to our social worker, and Jamie and Walter can go pay a visit to Mrs. Smith the next day and help her get the associated resources that she needs to take care of the problem right there at home, instead of calling 911 to get an engine and a medic unit out there to help her with something as simple as, hey, I can't get this medicine bottle open, or can you get me a glass of water? There are resources in Hamilton County to take care of that. And so by bringing a social worker into the fire department and adding a community paramedic to our staff, we've actually taken 300 to 500 runs a year. I can tangibly put my finger on of 2024 data that Jamie has taken off of 911 emergency response by doing follow-ups with these people in our community and getting them the assistance they need. So the investment from the city council to the fire department to put that person on staff cuts down on sending a $1 million fire engine and a $500,000 ladder or medic unit up and down the street to go take care of somebody that really doesn't need a emergency response. They need help, and so we just provide that in a different way. How do we get there? Training. So the training facility is a great leap forward. Hamilton County Training Center and Hamilton County have identified the need and are taking over the training center and investing another 32 point something million dollars into that facility. So here in Hamilton County, all of the fire departments, all of the law enforcement agencies will have state-of-the-art place to train with the highest level of educators in the country to come in to make sure that the services that we deliver are just top-notch. So that's how we get there.
Mayor?
Yeah, just a couple of things to add. First off, Jay, I got one question for you before I
Yes, sir.
dive in. What's it cost to operate a fire station annually? One fire station,
One fire station, it depends upon the makeup. I can tell you that
roughly. Just give me a number, roughly. Don't overthink it.
$7 million.
Okay. So I wanted that number just simply to put this out into the public. We've not staffed 85 yet. We certainly haven't staffed the 3 fire stations that this map is projecting, and we certainly haven't staffed future fire stations as we grow to the west. SB1 has flattened our budget out. When Station 85 comes along, I don't know how I'm going to staff it. We're building it. Don't know how I'm going to staff it. I don't have $7 million to throw at that fire station to be able to staff it. We'll find a way. It is important. But I just think as we grow, and you get a lot of comments from the public, oh, we want this amenity, we want that amenity, we want this. Blocking and tackling of leading a city, as you all know, is public safety. And I'll tell you why, I didn't sleep good that night after he showed me this. I thought we were done after 85.
We've had multiple discussions about this. And, in reality, we thought we were done after, 5
86.
stations, right?
We thought maybe one more.
Right? And that's the reality. As we step back and put data analysis to work, what we assume is wrong. Now we have real data that says, hey, here's where you can make the most impact. And by adding these 3 sites here are going to have the most effect on your community. We didn't have that.
Yeah. But we're using data to make decisions. I committed that when I ran. I know you all did as well. We're being very thoughtful in what we do. We have a plan. We will figure this out. But I just want to plant one more seed before we get into the budget cycle. Our firefighters are paid very, very low compared to their peers across the state of Indiana. We have some work to do there as well. It's not just about staffing these fire stations, but staffing them with the best talent and talent that feels they're being taken care of when they come into work. Kudos to Chief Gaylor and his staff. Carmel, for the first time ever, opened up lateral moves into their fire department, and we were bracing because Carmel pays at the top of the food chain in everything they do. Their benefits are better, and we were very, very nervous that we were going to lose a lot of firefighters to Carmel. Not one single Westfield firefighter applied for the job in Carmel. Not one. And I think that's a testament to the leadership we have in place. We got the right team in place. I think they see the big picture. I think our firefighters trust all of us up here on stage that we're going to take care of them. They're putting a lot of faith in them, and I'm just planting that seed because we're going to have some conversations, a lot of conversations coming up in the next few months, but this will certainly be one of them.
Any other comments this evening? Chief, I was able to spend a lot of time on, so this really the presentation for the public is really truncated. So the website, you'll see if you just do Station A, Station B, a combination, you'll actually see the impacts of what that does on response times. It is an incredible tool that really I'm thankful for our local union leadership, 4416, really getting us access to this and having us have this type of data and research that we're able to use, again, to the mayor's point, where it's truly data-driven. And frankly, the gentleman that kind of leads our medical training, is in the back corner hiding out this evening. But for 4 straight years, we do not have a single individual that does not pass their EMS test on the first try. We have multiple classes per year, and it's led by our folks that lead our Westfield Fire Department. Other fire departments that do this training with us rely on our people to really do that in conjunction with other departments as well. But we train and have some great firefighters in our community. At the same time, though, this data, if you could go back, just because we have another item on the agenda this evening, Chief, that I know you're talking about. If you can go to the hot spots, and if we could just talk about where the hot spots are, just in reference of something, another item that's on our agenda this evening. Sorry to make you slide
No.
around.
Chris, you need to oil your mouse.
That was a budget cut, just no more new mouses.
So on the screen here are historical hotspots, if you will, of call concentration. So
What's the correlation between the 2 yellow and red hotspots?
the 2 hotspots you see down there along 146th Street are residential care facilities.
Thank you. So just remember that for when we talk about another item here this evening. I know you will.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief. Moving on to old business this evening, we have ordinance 2534, which is a Jersey 32 PUD. This evening, we have Lauren Gillingham Teague with a brief presentation.
My presentation will not be that data-driven. That was a very good presentation. Good evening, members of the council. For the record, Lauren Gillingham Teague with the Community Development Department. The item before you tonight is the adoption consideration of the Jersey 32 PUD ordinance. This is located generally at the southeast corner of 32 and Poplar Street, bound to the south by Jersey, and then to the west by Mill, or excuse me, the east by Mill Street. On the other side of Mill Street is the new, the Union mixed-use development that Old Town just finished up. So this will also be a mixed-use development, a mix of multifamily, retail, and office space, including a headquarters of a local Westfield business, art and retail plazas, and then over 500 parking spaces within a structured parking garage. So similar to other developments in Westfield, will be wrapped with multifamily and retail. Since this was last before you, we have made a couple changes. Most notably, a sidewalk was removed behind the Shuck property. She is right up here. There was previously a sidewalk kind of snaking back behind her home. That's now been replaced with some landscape screening to help buffer some noise and prevent anyone from taking a shortcut and bothering her. And then also the minimum parking space size was reduced. This will help permit compact vehicle and golf cart parking within the garage, as well as just be a little bit more efficient in space. The Planning Commission has forwarded this with a favorable recommendation. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think the mayor has something he would like to present as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to cover some of the numbers. I know some of you counselors were asking for just a bit more details around the numbers. Kevin, could you pull up that Excel spreadsheet? And this was provided to you all, I believe, by Janelle late last week. But again, I think it's just important we put this in the public sphere so that they have a chance to understand the vision and how their tax-paying dollars are being spent. So let's talk real quickly, revisit the parking. We actually have picked up some numbers. Janelle went back after Park and Poplar was passed and noticed that the width of the parking spaces used for that garage is actually wider than the standard that you're seeing today in parking garages. So she went back, discussed with Old Town and then also with the developers of Jersey Street, hey, we want to narrow those spots down a bit to add more parking spots. So we've actually picked up more parking spots in the downtown. Just go through this real quickly. Let's just cover that far right column. What that does is that tells you currently we have a deficit of 321 parking spots in the downtown area. And as you go through and add the different developments, so Union Square, which is getting ready to come online, actually puts us in a deficit a little bit more, down to 329. And then Park and Poplar, when that comes online, that's going to address a big chunk of that, but we're still going to be down 103 spots. And then Jersey Street will be the first project that brings us into the positive. So once if you pass this, once Jersey Street is built, we will now have a surplus during our peak period of 8 p.m. at 67 spots. When Grand Millennium comes online, and then if you add in the library, because 8 p.m. the library is closed, we will have, when this vision for downtown is built out in this southwest quadrant, a surplus at peak time of 552 parking spots. I think that should give everybody comfort that we have a plan, and when the downtown is built out, we will have plenty of parking to accommodate current and future businesses. And I know a lot of the residents are concerned, as we all are up here on this stage, but Janelle has spent a ton of time with her staff, and we've hired a consultant who does projects like this all over the globe. She's very well known and actually lives in Carmel. And we've worked with her tirelessly to make sure that the vision for this quadrant provides adequate parking. So let's go down to the ROI for this project. And I'm not going to go through Park and Poplar, it's already passed, but just so you have a comparison to see that the costs are very similar. City commitments are a little bit different, but I just want to walk you all through that real quickly. So they'll be taking out a developer-backed bond, which is different than what Old Town did with Park and Poplar, which was a city-backed bond. So we have no risk related to the bonding of that garage. The cash on hand for that is roughly 8.5. We will get no ready grant. So cash on hand is what the city is bringing to this project in order to help finance the cost of the garage. The total investment between the back bond, and then the cash the city is bringing, total project cost for the garage is $22.7 million. If you look over at Park and Poplar, it was 21.8. So the costs are very similar when you go a side-by-side comparison. I won't dive too deep into the bond costs. I think they're pretty self-explanatory, but let's talk about the total investment. When you factor in, let's go drop all the way down actually to talk about assessed values and the benefit for the city. Because I think there's a narrative out there that because we're giving up TIF to pay for the garage, 100% of the TIF generated from this project will go to finance the building of the garage. We are still generating revenue out of this project every single year. First and foremost, the schools. They'll get an annual, we don't have that down there. Why do we not have that down there? It will be, I'm surprised that's not on there, but it will reflect probably similar numbers to what you're seeing with Park and Poplar. So over a 30-year period, or the life of this project, or the bond, it will give you a roughly $4 million of additional tax revenue to the schools in the form of their school referendum. Now, there's no guarantees those referendums continue, but if they do at the current rate, that would be the additional tax that they're paying to our school district. When you factor in food and beverage tax, hotel tax, lit, motor vehicle tax, all those add up to roughly $1.4 million of additional tax revenue from this project, and that's per year. Scroll to the right, if you would, Kevin. It's cutting off over the 30-year period. Over a 30-year period, it's generating $42.6 million roughly in additional tax revenue to the city. So this is a good project. It certainly brings a value today and in the future to our community. And yes, the city is making an investment of taxpayer dollars into this project, but contributing $8 million and getting in return a $43 million return on that investment. I used to run a business. That's pretty good. And that's a number that I would bank on any given day of the week as a business owner. So I committed when I ran for mayor that I would run the city like a business. These are the business numbers for this project. And with that, I'm here to answer any questions along with Lauren and, of course, the developers here as well, if you have any other questions.
Any questions this evening? I think Brian's potentially also online right now. Yep. So we heard from Brian at the present introduction. He's with, obviously, just for those in the audience and watching, Brian's locally responsible for Skinder Construction as well. Councilor Dart, do you have any questions or?
No questions.
Seeing no other questions this evening, we have, it is eligible for consideration. We need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 25-34 for the Jersey 32 PUD.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor Huff. Seeing no other conversation, discussion, may we call the roll?
Patrick Tam,
Yes.
Kurt Waninger,
Yes.
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Chad Huff,
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Great, thank you. The next order of business is ordinance 2535, which is a Trailside Business Park. We have Weston here, Mr. Rogers, here this evening from our planning department.
Yep, thank you, President, members of the council. For the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. The item before you this evening is the Trailside Business Center Planned Unit Development District. The subject real estate is roughly 26 acres in size and is generally located at 947 West State Road 32. This proposal would permit the development of a business park on the property. The ordinance would require the site to be developed in substantial compliance with the concept plan. In addition, substantial compliance would be required with the architectural elevations as well. In addition, wanted to point out that a trailhead amenity along the Midland Trace Trail would also be required to be developed as part of this project. This item received a unanimous favorable recommendation at the July 7th Advisory Plan Commission meeting. Tonight, this item is eligible for an adoption consideration by the City Council. The petitioner is here tonight but does not plan to provide a presentation. However, the petitioner and staff are available for any questions should the council have any. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions this evening? We need this is eligible for adoption this evening. We need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 25-35 Trailside Business Park PUD.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other conversation, may we call the roll?
Kurt Waninger,
Yes.
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Chad Huff,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Great, thank you. Ordinance 2540, Wheeler Landing PUD amendment for our police headquarters. Ryan Collingwood from our planning department.
Yep. Thank you, President, members of the council. Good evening. For the record, Ryan Collingwood with the Community Development Department. The item before you was a proposed amendment to the Wheeler Landing Planning and Development District. The subject parcel is the subject parcel is approximately 11.7 acres in size and is located generally on the west side of Grand Park Boulevard and about 1,000 feet north of the intersection at 181st Street and Grand Park Boulevard. The amendment proposal is to incorporate development architectural elevations and monument sign character exhibits into the PUD district, specific to just this area in which it will be utilized for the new City of Westfield's Police Department headquarters. The item had its first reading in front of the City Council on June 23rd and a public hearing in front of the APC at their July 7th meeting. At that same meeting, a 9-0 favorable recommendation was also granted. This item is in front of you for its adoption consideration. While there are no plans on providing additional information this evening, the petitioner's representative is on the line with us tonight, and I am also available for questions. Thank you.
Any questions this evening or discussion? This is eligible for adoption this evening. We need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve ordinance 25-40, the new Westfield Police Headquarters.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Waniger. See no other conversation. May we call the roll?
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Chad Huff,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Patrick Tam,
Yes.
Kurt Waniger.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Moving on to new business this evening, we have Resolution 25-138, which is a declaratory resolution, creation of the Eagletown Revitalization Area and I3 Investors LLC Real Property Tax Abatement. This evening from our Economic Development Department, we have Claire Jelonis.
Yeah.
I'm like 3 for 3 now, 3 meetings.
I know, you're doing great. Thank you so much. Good evening, Claire Jelonis, Economic Development Strategist with the city. I'm going to pull up my presentation, if you don't mind. Is that okay to minimize that? Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, great. So the resolution before you is twofold. The first portion is a request to create a new economic revitalization area called Eagletown to include the parcels that the proposed Trailside Business Center project will develop on. Those are highlighted in yellow on the map and at the end of the resolution. This includes the combined parcels that Wes presented on just earlier, located at 947 West State Road 32 and 0 West State Road 32, just west of Curley Brothers Brick and Masonry. An ERA designation is an economic development mechanism to allow the City Council to review and consider all real and personal property abatement requests located on these parcels. Which leads into the second piece of the resolution in front of you is the adoption consideration for the Council to preliminary approve the real property tax abatement recommendation for the project. To help keep documents organized, and since these two items are directly tied to one another, we were advised to combine these items into a single declaratory resolution tonight. This is a more common approach throughout the state, and so we just wanted to kind of streamline all the paperwork for projects like these. So if approved by council tonight, then the confirmatory resolution along with the public hearing for the ERA will be on your next council agenda item on August 28th. So then, okay, so just a brief overview of the project. So Trailside Business Center is a proposed enclosed industrial trail-oriented park with 4 speculative buildings. And when I say speculative, that means no identified end user or tenant is identified at this time. So phase 1 will begin on the west side of the property, and it will include 2 speculative industrial buildings totaling approximately 1,045,000, oh my gosh, let me restart that. 145,700 square feet with an anticipated $10.5 million of real property investment. There will also be site improvements as outlined in the PUD that include trail-oriented public amenities, site infrastructure upgrades to support phases 1 and 2, and enhanced landscaping and pedestrian-oriented connections between the businesses and the trail. Phase 1 project will begin in April 2026 and will be completed by December of 2027. The second phase includes 2 speculative industrial buildings on the east side of the property, totaling approximately 238,000 square feet, with anticipated $13 million in real property improvements. There will also be potentially State Road 32 traffic improvements as required based upon a traffic study that will be conducted. And phase 2 will start in April of 2028 and will be completed in December of 2029. So the slide also shows the recommended 14% step-down abatement schedule for each phase for your adoption consideration tonight. We are including both phase 1 and phase 2 abatement recommendation because I3 is making a significant investment in the Midland Trace Trail improvements, utility extensions to the site, traffic improvements, a walking trail to connect the Midland Trace to State Road 32, and the construction of the 4 industrial speculative buildings that you can see on the slide. So based on today's numbers, when the project is fully complete, we estimate it will generate approximately $21.3 million in assessed value. And as of today, those parcels that were outlined in yellow generate approximately $253,500 in assessed value. So as usual, I like visuals. So I created this model to showcase how the phasing in of taxes will affect those two properties. And you can see phase 2 is anticipated to start in 2030, which is 2030 pay 2031. So as a refresher, the real property abatement will only phase in the tax revenue from improvements made to the property. Our taxing units will still capture that base land assessed value that they received today. So the green shading, which you really cannot even see, is today's land tax value. The navy showcases the phase 1, and then the lighter blue showcases the phase 2 improvements. So without the investment of I3 on these parcels, the taxing units would not see such a significant increase in revenues within a short time period that you can see here. And I do want to note that this model is based on 2025 numbers, so it is subject to change too in the future. So our department tracks all of the leads that we receive to identify real estate and utility trends that we're seeing in the marketplace. So the graph on the top left shows the lead trends for clients seeking only existing buildings for their potential projects that we're seeing. So far in 2025, 66% of the clients that were searching for an existing building wanted something no larger than 100,000 square feet. And in 2024, 58% of clients wanted an existing building that was no larger than 100,000 square feet. I also took the time to look at our inventory of our existing industrial stock in the market for Westfield, and only found 5 total buildings ranging from 4,000 to a little over 99,000 square feet. So the proposed buildings for Trailside Business Center fills a gap in our local industrial market and can help us bring more industry to our local economy. All in all, from an economic development perspective, this project brings significant investment to the community, can become a catalyst for future development opportunities surrounding the property, and increases our industrial building stock so we can become more competitive in the market. So with that being said, I'm asking for your all's adoption consideration for the declaratory resolution for the ERA creation and preliminary approval for the real property tax abatement for the project. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Claire. Any questions this evening?
Could you pull up the overall map of the development?
Can you go back for me?
That'll work.
Is that okay?
Yeah, could you explain that red line kind of going off to the east in the middle of the property?
Do you want to talk about that part?
Yeah, just for the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. That would be a vehicular access opportunity there for the east-west connection. The idea was to provide that opportunity for the future if it may happen. As part of the platting process on the property, there would be a cross-access easement that the Public Works Department would require to be there as part of that development. Okay. So does that answer your question?
It does. I appreciate that, and I would highly suggest to the Public Works Department and Community Development to work with future developments to provide that access. I think that'll be valuable, not only this development, but also parcels to the west in the future. Janelle, real quick, not Janelle. Sorry. The question is, you mentioned it already, but this is just a tax abatement for the buildings only.
Correct.
Not for any of the businesses that are coming in.
Correct. Yes, for the developer building the improvements on the site. Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions this evening? Discussion? This is a resolution this evening, so it's eligible for adoption. We need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve Resolution 25-138.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Waniger. Seeing no other conversation this evening, may we call the roll?
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
No, oh, sorry. Just going through my list. Noah's not there. Chad Hoff.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
yes,
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Next order of business is Resolution 25-139, which is approving an amendment to the declaratory resolution in the Economic Development Plan for the Grand Junction Economic Development Area and the creation of the Jersey Street Allocation Area. This evening, we're joined by Adam Sturwold, partner at Barnes & Thornburg.
Adam Sturwold, Barnes & Thornburg, bond counsel, filling in for Brad and Dustin tonight. The mayor already went through the Jersey 32 project. Here is your approval of the Redevelopment Commission's declaratory resolution where they are splitting out this into a new allocation area. Happy to answer any questions on that.
Any questions, conversation this evening? Seeing none, we need a motion and a second, as this is a resolution this evening.
Motion to approve Resolution 25-139.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Waniger. Seeing no other conversation, may we call the roll?
Chad Hoff.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
yes,
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Our next item of business this evening is an ordinance for introduction this evening. Ordinance 2542, which is approving the economic development bonds for the Jersey 32 project. Once again, Mr. Sturwell.
Thank you. Yes, the mayor kind of already went over all those financials. So this ordinance is just for introduction to give you the parameters here. It's a max of $16 million, max of 8% in 25 years. If introduced tonight, the Economic Development Commission will have public hearings and findings, then we'll come back to you for final adoption.
Thank you. Any conversation this evening? We will move on to ordinance 2543 then, which is an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Westfield, Indiana, implementing a fee for non-emergency responses and lift assistance at residential care facilities. This will be presented by our Chief Gaylor.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the council, Rob Gaylor, Westfield Fire Department. Here before you this evening to discuss instituting a fee for non-emergency and lift assist type calls. First and foremost, need to get out there that we're not changing how we do business. We are not taking care of our folks at residential care facilities. It has nothing to do with any of that. We're still going to take care of sick people and care for them to the best of our abilities. So just clarifying that up right out of the gate. This ordinance has more to do with, and we're asking for you to consider, the use of fire and emergency services in the way that they're intended or not intended. We're an emergency response unit. We love to help people the best that we can. However, sometimes we feel like we're being taken advantage of. So with all of that, you always start off your thesis with a problem statement, right? And so over the years, the Westfield Fire Department respond to a multitude of hazards, including hazardous material incidents, motor vehicle accidents, fires, technical rescue. A large portion of what we do is EMS care. 2024 and 2025, we're responding on about 64.5% to 65% of all the calls that we go on are EMS. National standard is around 65 to 70, so we fall right in that median along with everybody else. So the problem isn't just isolated to the city of Westfield and the men and women of the Westfield Fire Department. It's a national issue to some degree. In 2024 alone, we responded to 3,200 EMS calls. Of these, 783 were to residential care facilities. So that breakdown is 24.39% of our EMS calls are to residential care facilities. As we grow as a city, we're going to continue to get more and more of these residential care facilities as they come on board. We expect on the average that if a facility has 100 beds, we're going to be called to their facility 100 times. That is how we model our response, and we run into a few challenges. Some facilities, like for instance in 2024, 21.7% of our calls were to those facilities were for falls. Just 3%, just under 3%, 2.6 were for lift assists. 34.5% were for sick person. A third of those sick person calls were because the doctor called and said they needed to go to a hospital, or they had bad labs, or their blood pressure was low. They're in a care facility. These are places that care for these people when they're in these type of conditions. To call us to transport them to a hospital to meet a doctor's appointment, we feel is not the best use of our services. We're an emergent response agency. We respond to 911 calls. Some of the challenges that we face here in Indiana is once 911 is called, we don't have the opportunity to say no. We have to go. We have to take care of people. That is not necessarily the issue. The issue is 1,700 times last year we had overlapping calls. If we're spending a third of our time at a residential care facility for a non-emergency type calls, there's a high probability that we are missing a high acuity run taking place somewhere else in the city. So the only way for us to help mitigate some of this is to offset that with a fee. Now, this fee is no different than an alarm fee that we already institute for a facility that's having a problem with an alarm system. We go there 2 or 3 times. Hey, you need to get that fixed. Hey, you need to get that fixed. Third time, we're going to start introducing, hey, here's a fee. It's not that we're not taking care of the alarm or we're not taking care of the patient. It has nothing to do with that. This is a way for us to identify and work better with those facilities on patient care. Quite frankly, their responsibility to take care of patients, not necessarily us transporting them to meet a doctor's appointment. 2025. Right now, 2025, 1,651. This is as of last week. We've had another couple hundred runs since then. 1,651 of our calls have been EMS. We've had 908 overlapping calls this year alone. We look into the same call types. Falls constitute 22.9% of what we're doing. 18.5% is a sick person. 16.4% of those are for those bad labs. The doctor said I need to go, things like that. 420 times we've been to a care facility and we're only halfway through the year. So to put it into perspective, we're going to a residential care facility at least 1 to 3 times a day. And a third of those calls are for not emergency related type calls. So the ordinance in front of you tonight is just that, an ordinance for you to consider to implement a fee schedule for residential care facilities. Be happy to answer any questions you folks may have.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Any questions? Mayor?
I'd like to just make a couple of comments on this as well, because on the surface, it could be somewhat controversial, but I think when you dive into this, you realize this is kind of a no-brainer. The first 6 months in office, I don't know how many times Chief and I had conversations around this. I'm sitting at my desk and I'm watching an ambulance and a fire truck screech down 171st Street several times a day. And I'm like, my goodness, what is going on in this area of the city where I see these runs? So I started paying attention. So I would go to my little active alert app and I'd pull it up and I go, lift. What is a lift? And why do we need so many firefighters for a lift. And what I found was, and what's happening, I don't want to throw every single elderly care facility under the bus, because that's certainly not the case, but we have several in this city that, from a liability standpoint, if an elderly person falls on the ground, regardless if they need any kind of care other than just getting them up off the ground or not, they immediately call 911. They would rather us take on the liability of lifting that person off the ground than their own facility. And that's unacceptable. So I started, my first comment was, can we just dispatch EMS? Why are we sending a fire truck? Because we're tying up almost an entire fire station worth of assets on a lift assist. And they quickly showed me the way that that wasn't the right option and started conversations to where we're at today. I can assure you we'll be the first in Indiana, but we won't be the last. And there's probably going to be several that are right behind us. We've had conversations with Carmel and other cities who are very interested in what we were doing here. This isn't about, we're always going to make the run. If an elderly person's on the ground and they call 911, or the facility doesn't want to pick them up and they call 911, we will make that run every single time. But if we find that these facilities are using us as a crutch to their own business model, they're going to start charging them for the services that we're providing. We think once this starts happening, these calls for a majority of the time will fall off, which is a win-win for everybody. They're providing the care they promise families they're going to provide to their mom and dad or grandma and grandpa. And we're going to have more of a reach for our residents in true emergency situations. But I just wanted to go on the record in saying that we're always going to make that call. Yes. It's just whether or not we assess a fee. And that would be, that investigation would happen on the back end. We show up, we'll do our job, we'll do what needs to be done, we'll figure it out on the back end.
You know, and just to extend it a little further, the next step in the process are obviously the council consideration and adoption of an ordinance. But it begins with a large educational component. So our staff is going to go to these facilities, educate them on the nuts and the bolts of the ordinance and how it's going to work and how we're going to institute it. It's not, you guys approve it, and day one we're running out, passing out fees or anything like that. Totally an educational component on that. One thing that needs to be noted to these facilities is there are currently 5 agencies out there, local, that are willing to take and transfer patients interfacility or from one residential care facility to a hospital or something like that. That is not a 911 service. And so all we're saying is, if it's an emergency, use us. We have no problems with that. If it's not an emergency, there are other avenues, use these. And if these folks aren't available, well, then that changes the game again. Obviously, we're going to take care of people in our community. So there's a large educational component that comes along before we actually run out there and start just instituting fines. So part of that, I think one of the council members wanted to make mention that, hey, there is an appeals process. It's written in the ordinance that, hey, at 10 days of receiving the fine, if there's a discrepancy or something like that, here's the way that you go through it. It's a little different than a traffic citation. Traffic citations are constituted by state statute. This is a local ordinance, and it's a fee, not a fine, so there's a difference. So it doesn't have to go through a circuit court or anything like that, just anything. However, we did build in an appeals process, and it will go through city legal to identify any discrepancies or problems. At the end of the day, our firefighters and paramedics aren't the ones out there instituting the fee. They're actually just going to be filling out a form. It's coming to us, and we're sending an invoice to the facilities. Hey, here's the date and time of this run, and this run, and this run. You've already been warned. Here it is. All of those are the logistical side of things that we will address and take care of.
Councilor Waniger.
Yeah, I have just a few questions, but I really appreciate Chief and the Mayor, you guys stressing that we'll continue to provide this service. So I do appreciate that. Step through some of these questions. First question being, how does this differ from residential care facilities and, I guess, providing non-emergency lift assistance to residentials and residential houses or businesses? And will they be charged this charge?
So the resident isn't going to be charged. Residents live here in the community, pay taxes, and we're here to take care of them because we receive part of their tax dollars. This is a facility issue. When you have a Hoyer lift in the corner and you're not using it to lift Mrs. Smith that fell on the floor, you're calling us to do your job. This is where that fee comes into place. It's against the facility, not towards the person that is actually needing the help. So two different animals altogether.
Yep. Thanks for clarifying that. Second question will be that charge that is charged. Is that charged to the facility or is that charged to Mr. or Mrs. Smith?
Charges to the facility. We're not going to charge Mr. and Mrs. Smith at all. As a matter of fact, when it comes to invoicing, probably just going to use a call for service number. We're not going to use a patient or anything like that. But hey, call for service, date and time to your facility. Here's a problem.
Okay. And last questions for our attorney, since this is an important issue in our community, and I think it's something that we need to, going back to what Nancy Abbott said earlier, putting a stopgap in quickly, is this something that would be eligible for consideration tonight and bypassing the rules with it being a fee?
You could suspend the rules, but here it actually doesn't take effect until October 1st, so it wouldn't really matter.
Okay.
There's actually a waiting period so that we can kind of do some of the education that the chief talked about. So I think you can if you want to suspend the rules, but it wouldn't really change when it takes effect, so that the care facilities do have a few months to know this is coming, and we can work on even more education with them as it comes along.
Okay. I'll let my other counselors decide if they want to suspend the rules this evening.
Chief, I would just say I support this, and I agree with the idea of what you're trying to implement here. I think the fees are reasonable, and I will be in support of this. It's not because we're trying to collect money. I don't think that's your intention by any means. It's to change or deter certain behavior. My concern is not anything that you will do or we're doing, but they're going to pass this cost on to its residents, and I just hope they don't do that, and it actually does change their behavior. And that's the idea of it.
Correct. Thank you.
And that's a great point, Councilor Deppner. And I have an equal concern. My mother-in-law is in an assisted care facility here in Westfield. And I can tell you that if I got a bill for $500 and found out that my mother-in-law was on the ground and fallen and they waited until EMS showed up, we would be having a conversation. I think it's a transparency thing for patients, families to understand that they're leaving people on the floor. They are leaving people on the floor. I'm not going to mention any facilities. I'm not saying it's across the board. I can tell you, matter of fact, I got a call from a resident last week. Her mother was on the floor for 45 minutes before she was picked up. That is a problem. And really, it's a staffing issue. I think it's what we're seeing. That's, I think, one reason why they're not being picked up is they don't have the staff or the resources or the fear of making a mistake. But this is a problem that goes beyond the falling that really needs some light shed on it. And I think this is just a starting point for that to hopefully happen.
In addition, though, Chief, I mean, all the great points that were made, this ties up personnel. So you shared with me earlier it was roughly about at least 45 minutes that these runs last, but the most important piece is then putting that engine and our personnel back into service, if you will, for the next call. How long is that time period?
You know, in 2025, all of the runs that we've responded on so far, just shy of 3,000 calls. Our average out of service time on all of the calls is 42 minutes and some change. So a normal, typical run, like we respond to a facility and we need to take somebody to another hospital for whatever reason. If it's a true sick person and they need extra help in the back of the transporting unit, they may or may not take a person off of our engine to hop on that. Then the engine is below minimum staffing levels. It's out of service. They either follow that unit to the hospital or they go back to the station and wait for that unit to get back in service. And so a quick run, 45 minutes. That's if we're going down the street, dropping them off and come back. It's not uncommon, depending on where we transport, for one of our units to be down an hour and a half. It's not what we would like to see, but if we got to transport someone that is truly sick to a facility down in Marion County, turnaround time coming back here, getting cleaned up and back in order, realistically could be up to an hour and a half.
Any other conversation, Councilor McCarty?
I'll just add that my grandfather, before he passed, had a similar experience to what Mayor Willis just described. And because of that, my grandmother made me promise to her to never put her in a care facility, and I didn't until she passed away. She lived with me. So needless to say, this has my unequivocal support, whether it's tonight or at our next meeting. So thank you for bringing this forward.
I don't think anything is going to change in 2 weeks, and we'll give you an extra 2 weeks to get your education started out there. So I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend the rules by Counselor Deppner, seconded by Counselor McCarty. We need to call the roll on this motion first.
Thank you, I'm sorry. Patrick Tam,
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger,
Yes.
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Depp.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You cut out, Marla.
We lost you, Marla. Can you go?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you. We got through the first four names.
Okay, very good. Chad Huff,
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
The motion to suspend the rules passed 6-0.
So we've suspended the rules now. This ordinance 2543 is now eligible for adoption this evening. We need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 25-43.
Second.
We have a motion made by Counselor McCarty, seconded by Counselor Huff. Seeing no other conversation, may we call the roll?
Kurt Wanninger,
Yes.
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Chad Huff,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Your motion carries 6-0.
Great, thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Council members, city administration, thank you.
Our next item for consideration this evening is Resolution 25-141, which is the Common Council correcting the Scrivener's error in Ordinance 2463. Quick presentation by Ryan Collingwood.
Yep, thank you, President, members of the council. Again, for the record, Ryan Collingwood with the Community Development Department. The item before you is a resolution to remedy a Scrivener's error in a recently approved ordinance document, Ordinance 24-63. For context on the petition, Ordinance 24-63 approved 2 parcels for annexation back in April, both within the Midtown at Westfield PUD district, located at the southeast corner of 191st and East Street. An incorrect parcel legal description identifying a parcel not contemplated within the scope of the subject annexation was incorrectly utilized during the adoption process a few months ago. This resolution will remedy the situation by correctly identifying the accurate legal description that was intended to be utilized for one of the 2 annexed parcels. This resolution item is available for adoption and consideration this evening. Legal and I are collectively available for any questions or concerns. Thank you.
Any questions this evening? Seeing none, this is a resolution eligible for adoption this evening. We need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve resolution 25-141 to correct the Scrivener's error for ordinance 24-63.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Wanninger, seconded by Counselor McCarty. Seeing no other conversation this evening, may we call the roll?
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Patrick Tam,
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger,
Yes.
John Dart.
John just had to drop off. We're okay.
Okay, sorry. I thought it was me. Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. City Council comments this evening. Councilor McCarty, an APC update?
Yeah, just real quickly. On our consent agenda, we had Midtown at Westfield Southeast, apartments over there at the southeast corner of 191st and East Street. That was previously approved under the Midtown at Westfield PUD mixed-use development. And then also North Point Commerce Park Lot 1. They are in the North Point development just south of State Road 38. And then what we saw this evening was Trailside Business Center, Jersey 32, and the Westfield Police Headquarters. And then we rounded it out with the public hearing for the 199th and Monon PUD, the Onyx and East project, which will be at a future workshop meeting. That was all. Thank you.
Any other council comments this evening? On behalf of the council, just real quick, do want to thank everyone involved with the city, particularly our public safety, but also our Westfield Welcome Team for Westfield Rocks Forth and so forth. Always a great community event, and greatly appreciate everyone's hard work. Mayor?
I got just a couple things real quick. First off, I saw some comments out on social media around occupancy rates of our mixed use and our apartments and what have you. I think that's a fair request. So I've tasked community development to start to peel that onion back one layer at a time. I will tell you, it's not easy data to get. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to build this out, but we're going to make an attempt to try to provide you guys some data around our apartments and our mixed-use developments and what those occupancy rates are. Second, one of the initiatives I had when I became mayor, I wanted to start a key to the city. I think it's a worthy award for residents who go above and beyond to get back to our community. We will be having our very first key to the city ceremony July 29th at the Bridgewater Club, 4 o'clock. We will be recognizing former Mayor Andy Cook. I think it's more than fitting to have him as our first key to the city recipient. So I would love to see council members there in support. And I don't know if it's completely open to the public, but if you really want to come, you didn't get an invite from me, let me know. We'll get one out to you. And then lastly, we have a very exciting announcement coming tomorrow. I can't spill the beans as of yet, but if you're around Grand Park at around 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, council, you should show up if you're not busy. I know, Joe, you're probably in court. But if you're not, come by. Councilors know what this is. We've been working this for almost a year, and I'm telling you, it is super exciting, and I can't wait for this news to get out to the public. We're doing a press release and a big event at Grand Park at 11 o'clock tomorrow. And with that, I am done.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, though, we have our next future mayor. You're going to beat the mayor, right? You're going to run against him? He's shaking his head, yes. So, but we have we need a motion to adjourn. And you're going to ask for a motion to adjourn. You ready to ask for it? Say motion to adjourn. You can say it.
I'm a little bit scared.
That's okay. You're going to beat the mayor, so the mayor needs to be scared of you first. So it will be fine. So can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And say, ready? Grab it, and then bang it. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Nice job. Good job.
Nice job. Nice job.
All right. Ready?
You did a good job.
Can you tell them thanks?
So anytime you're at the council meeting, you just come up here and you adjourn our meeting.